You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 10th meeting of the Michigan City Water Works Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Call this meeting of the Water Board to order. Today is Tuesday, September 10th. First item is approval of minutes from the meeting of August 27th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held August 27th, 2024.
Second.
Motion is second, we approve the minutes from the meeting held August 27th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Purchase orders.
Before you have a list of 6 purchase orders. The first is to Williams for repairing air conditioning and replacing batteries on truck 9. This is our large dump truck. It's a confirming $1,542.40. The second is to Castle Ford. It's replacement of injectors and oil change on truck 15, confirming for $2,386.37. Third is to Midwest Meter. This is meters, transponders, and heads for stock for $15,779.70. USA Blue Book for fiberglass ladders for the crew trucks. These are ladders we use to get in and out of the holes, and they're a specialty type of ladder for $1,455.76. And both ladders were in pretty rough shape. They should have been replaced a while. Yeah. They're expensive because they're a special narrow ladder. It goes down in manholes and stuff like that too. So. Number 5 is to David Taylor. That's the local Dodge dealership for 2024 Ram 1500 Tradesman for $41,330.76. This wasn't our business plan for this year. And then number 6 is to McCann. This is backhoe and bucket rental for another month. This is the excavator that we're using out there at that Woodland Ridge subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to need it another month to finish the job.
Oh. Okay.
And that's for $6,468.75.
I'll make a motion to accept the list of purchase orders dated 9/10/2024 for $68,963.74.
I'll second it.
Motion and second, we accept the list of purchase orders dated September 10th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Claims. Anybody have any questions or concerns about the claims?
Motion to approve the list of claims dated September 10th, 2024.
I'll second it.
Oh, sorry. That's okay.
The motion and second, that we approve the list of claims dated September 10th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bad debt list.
I'll make a motion to accept the bad debt list dated September 10th, 2024 for bookkeeping purposes only.
I'll second it.
Motion is second, we accept the bad debt list dated September 10th for bookkeeping purposes only. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Financials, Chris?
Just go through our cash flow on page 2 real quick. We took in $782,370 in receipts for the month. We did recover $65 in bad debt. Our disbursements were $999,536. We spent $250,562 for inventory items and $202,137 for capital items. Our ending balance for the month was $155,295. On page 3, nothing too out of the ordinary here. We did go over our prior year and our forecast for our sales for resale for this month. And our net income for the month was $168,046, and our year-to-date loss is down to $212,541. So we're getting closer to zero. Page 4, our purchase power is low. I think that's a timing issue for billing. One of the bills for the plant didn't get here on time for payment. The materials and supplies line is over forecast. We had our bulk purchase of phosphate for $17,285, and we also spent $19,160 for hydrant flags. And unless there's any questions, that's actually all I got.
Okay, any questions of Chris for the financials?
Motion to approve the financial statement, July 2024.
I'll second that motion.
Motion second that we approve the financials as presented as of July 31st. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Brian, it's all you.
All right, thank you, and good evening.
Good evening.
I've got
Hello.
good news to share with you this evening, so we'll try to keep things pretty quick for you. If you turn to page 3 of your packet, you've got an updated copy of our investment strategy update from 8/31. And what you'll see in here, some highlights, we continue to see moderate growth here in the U.S. economy. We continue to see a pretty resilient employment market and gradually, but still declining inflation. Because of that, the Fed has given the indication that they'll start the rate cutting process as early as this month. The markets are generally expecting about 75 basis points in rate cuts for the remainder of the year. And as such, you've seen interest rates fall. That's really good for the economy. You think about mortgage rates and how high they've been. You look here at the bottom of the page and you see the 10-year Treasury is about 3.72. Just a few months ago, that was up around 5%. So certainly that gives a little accommodation to the markets. And we've seen a little volatility here lately, whether it's jobs number or other economic numbers. So it's about time the Fed is ready to start cutting interest rates. Turn to page 5, and we'll take a look at the balances from the pension portfolio. All of my reports here are as of the quarter ending 6/30 of this year. You'll see that the balance from 12/31 of 23, or last year's year-ending balance, was $18,689,000. We've seen really significant growth throughout the year, not only through the end of the second quarter at just over $20 million, but currently the portfolio balance is about $20,261,000. So we've seen really good growth in the portfolio this year. It's also exciting to see that 20 million number and see that exceed the previous high back in late 21 of just over 19 million. Turning to page 6, we'll look at some of the characteristics of the portfolio. You've got the asset allocation presented here. You can see that the portfolio is about 67% in equities, as represented by the blue pie chart. Fixed income in the portfolio is just under 30% and about 3% in cash equivalents. You look at the bottom of the page under the yield column and you'll see equities are yielding about 1.4%. Fixed income has really risen over the past couple of years. That was as low as probably 2.5% to 3%. It's now nearly 4.5%. So we've been able to take advantage of higher interest rates as bonds matured and we reinvested those. But take a look at that final figure for cash equivalents, 5.2%. We're going to start to see that change pretty soon. Again, with about 75 basis points expected cuts this year, you could see that probably around 4.5% by the end of the year. Turning to page 7, we'll take a look at your fixed income portfolio. And at the top of the page, you'll see the breakdown by quality. You'll see that about 12% of the portfolio is in AAA rated securities. That would be U.S. government securities, treasuries, and government agency bonds. About 40% of the portfolio is in A-rated securities. And then at the bottom, you'll see NA of 26.6. That doesn't mean non-rated. That just represents your certificate of deposits in the portfolio. Those are all FDIC insured up to $250,000, but they do not carry a bond rating, and so that's why you see them listed as NA here. Looking at the bottom of the page here, you'll see the average maturity in the portfolio is about 3 years, so a little higher than when we spoke last. And when you look at the far right, you can see that orange or magenta colored bar, the 5 to 10 year portion of the curve. That we're really starting to grow out as bonds are maturing in the portfolio, taking advantage of higher rates and extending our maturity a little bit. Looking at page 8 and looking at the classification by asset class, you'll see the orange bar there, about 61% in corporate bonds, and the remainder, about 30% in combination of CDs, U.S. Treasury notes, and government agency bonds. We like to see a mix there. You know, 2 or 3 years ago, when we were talking about the portfolio, you would have seen, 80-85% of the portfolio in corporate bonds, because you were scratching and clawing for every quarter of a point that you could get when rates were essentially zero. Now we've got a lot of options. We have great yields now in fixed income across the asset classes, and so we can really have the portfolio diversified the way that we want to. Traditionally, this is about the way you would see a pension portfolio, about 50-50, 60-40, with maybe a little more emphasis on corporate bonds for yield. Turning to page 9, we'll look at the stock portfolio. And really, this is what's driven returns. Fixed income returns have been good this year, but obviously equity returns have been very, very good. And so looking at the bottom of the page, at the bar chart down there, the blue bar is your pension portfolio and the orange bar is the benchmark. Right away you can see on the left-hand side, information technology, you have a slight overweight there. And really, artificial intelligence has been a great driver of earnings there. Yes, AI everything. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Coffee is advertising AI-enhanced coffee makers, right? It's the new buzzword, but it is real. With nearly $1 trillion estimated over the next several years of earnings growth from that industry, there's real creation of growth and wealth there. Information security is another area that we've emphasized in the portfolio with one of our new additions. And you know how important that is in this day and age that we live in. Keeping your clients' data safe is so important. And so those are some of the things that we're focusing on. Information technology really has had the best growth, the best fundamental dynamics within our markets, but over the past couple of months, we've started to see performance broadening out into other stocks throughout the S&P 500. All this talk about the Magnificent Seven and how much performance has been driven by just a handful of large cap technology companies so far this year, but we're really starting to see that broaden out, which is good and healthy for the markets. A couple other things to point out at the far right-hand side. You can see our weighting in international. Your blue bar there is underweight the benchmark. U.S. domestic stocks have by far outpaced international stocks, and so that overweight in U.S. companies relative to international has really paid off for the portfolio. And then finally, at the far right-hand side, you'll see the small and mid-cap stocks. While these stocks have not performed very well over the last couple of years, a lot of starts and stops around volatility in the interest rate environment, we think it's finally time that you're going to start to see these perform quite well. When the Fed announced their potential cuts this month, you really saw small and mid-cap stocks pick up in terms of performance versus large-cap companies. So we have a full weighting, if not a slight overweight there. Let's take a look at performance. So let's flip to page 15 in your packet. Looking at the top left-hand corner, you can see the asset class performance in terms of the line chart there. The dark line is your pension portfolio. The gray shaded line is the blended benchmark, and the performance has been really good so far this year and continuing to outpace the benchmark since probably the last 2 or 3 years. You can see fiscal year to date, and this is again as of 6/30, the portfolio is up about 10%. Versus the blended benchmark of about 9.7, so good, strong performance there. You look more importantly at the report period at the far right-hand side, and this is from inception of the portfolio with Harbor Trust dating back to May of 1999 through 6/30 of this year. You can see a return of 7.1% versus 5.9 for the benchmark. The most important thing you can take away from that is that you're meeting your expectations in terms of the percentage that the pension needs to earn on an annual basis. As long as the pension is earning 5.5% to 6% over a long period of time, you're going to be able to meet the requirements to your pensioners. Looking at page 16, you can see some additional performance numbers here. Last 12 months, about 16.8% in line with the benchmark. 3 years up 8%. Last 5 years up 12.5%. So some really significant numbers when you consider stocks alone on a long-term basis should earn between 8 and 10%. Your entire portfolio that's only 60 to 70% stocks over the past 5 years is up 12.5%. So some really strong performance. So the big question will be, will that continue, right? Obviously, we know what's going on this evening. We've got a little debate on TV that a lot of people are going to be tuning into, right?
Right.
Certainly when you have national elections, not just for the presidential race, but a lot of key congressional races as well on the national level and also at the local level. A lot of those are very tightly contested this year, and so certainly that can drive some volatility in the markets, both equities and fixed income, over the next couple of months. We would expect that you'd probably see some volatility pick up, over the next couple of weeks as we start getting into earnest, in earnest of that election season. And then certainly the Fed transition into a period of lower interest rates. That can also generate some volatility, particularly in light of whatever the top line news may be. It may be an economic number that is weaker than expected. Will or won't the Fed increase rates by 1/4 of a point or 50 basis points at the next meeting? We believe they'll be cautious and cut interest rates at 25 basis point increments, but that remains to be seen. They've really got their finger on the pulse of this economy, and so that can create some volatility, though, on expectations. On the positive side, earnings per share growth for U.S. corporations for the remainder of this year and for 2025 look very good. The economy has been amazingly resilient despite higher interest rates that we've experienced over the last 18 months. And so our outlook is probably not for as good a returns as we've seen over the past 12 months, but we should see reasonably good returns from equities over the next 12 months if we are getting this soft landing as we expect we'll see. So with that, I think I'll open the floor for any questions that you might have.
I I like the way you explained it to us.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, well, thanks for having me this evening.
So there you go.
Guess it's a great job.
Yes, thank you.
Great job.
All right, next item is a main extension request for Keeper Road.
Yes. As you remember, we recently updated a request through the county concerning an extension of water main from Cleveland and 400 North to 900 West and north on 900 West to serve the property at 4208 900 West, which is a filter facility. And in conversations then, further conversations with the county, they've been in communication with the folks at Franciscan. And as you know, Franciscan has 3 facilities that they own east of the corner of 900 West and 400 North. And then there's another facility that they don't own, but they utilize, which is further down. And then they actually own land in between, but there's a couple of other doctor's offices that have separate ownership. So I was asked if we could put together a price to extend water main all the way down to cover all of these buildings. So the plan would be to run a 20-inch main from the corner of 900 West and 400 North to the intersection of 875 West. If you look at the drawing on the back, basically that would be the blue solid line. And the reason why, and then from that point on, it would be 12-inch main to go across the property for 8733. The reason for the size change at that point is in the event that we need to go under Highway 94, the crossing of 94 and 400 has a lot of elevation change. Basically 400 is a bridge over 94, and there's a lot of woods and elevation change there. This County Road 875 West, when it travels south, it just turns and becomes a dead end. And on the other side of that, on the other side of 94, the road continues on and ties into, I believe it's 600. I'm not 100% certain right now. But if we were going to cross 94, that location of that dead end road, those 2 dead ends and the highway are all about the same elevation. So it'd be a much easier crossing than trying to mess with elevation changes in it as well. So the plan would be in the future to come down 875 and turn the corner and go across 94 on that dead end road that's down to the south, which isn't on this drawing. So that's the reason why we would continue 20-inch all the way to 875. So in looking through this, basically the board has, the way I look at it, 3 options. The first option is to, would be to quote the cost of 8-inch material minus the revenue reduction, which leaves the developer responsibility of $309,777. Then the department would cover the labor and the balance of the materials from the revenue reduction. So the department's portion with the labor would be $329,263. And so that would be the balance between the 2. Now, in option 2, if it was 8-inch only, the department's portion would reduce to $172,770 because we wouldn't be upsizing the main to 20-inch. and paying the extra amounts for that. But this would not be in keeping with our long-term plan, our future planning of possibly crossing 94 in the future. Then option 3 is, of course, the board could opt to not provide an estimate. So my recommendation is to select option 1, the most advantageous to further development and provide an opportunity to these businesses an opportunity to tie onto our system. Of course, you know, somebody is going to have to come up with a lot of money to make these projects happen, so not just us.
Well, as fast as it's growing, I think we'll make it. It'll make it. Or maybe it'll be a slowdown.
Well, I mean, these 6 properties that are shown on the map, I think these are going to be in service for quite a while. And there has been some discussion that if they can get onto our water, that there might be some additional growth at the Franciscan facilities. So right now they're on wells, so
Yes.
they do have sanitary sewer already.
Okay.
So we would, so by adding our water to the mix, it changes how things work for them as a medical facility.
Okay.
Well, I'm all for new customers, so
Yeah.
that's my opinion. Do you have any idea how much water they're gonna use?
Not a clue. Not a clue.
As fast as they can build it.
Mm-hmm.
Is what will happen.
Well, I mean, they do surgeries and they do different things in that, so
There's a lot of activity that goes on. in that.
There's big
Yeah.
spaces of
Mhm.
of
How about
land.
the people across the street?
Well, that's primarily farmland with some houses. They would obviously have the opportunity to tie on if they wanted to. They would have to pay their tap fees, et cetera. And then, of course, if they develop the empty land, there's some opportunity there as well. I mean, from a perspective of future development, obviously 400 is already leaning towards being a commercial development corridor until you get, basically until you get past these Franciscan properties, then it becomes rural residential again. And then it's rural residential and then residential once you cross 94 on 400 when you get into the Waterford area.
Then you have Swanson Center down the way there before you get to Johnson Road.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's,
So there's always possibility that growth could continue out that direction
I'm sure it will be.
someday.
Yeah, someday.
I don't know if I'll be around long enough to see it, but we got planned for it, I guess, is the way I look at it.
Oh, it'll
And this
go.
goes to the Office of Economic Development for the county,
Yeah,
and then
they're the ones requesting this.
they lease it out to the various entities, or Franciscan, or
Well, if they get involved, I think it's from a financial standpoint, maybe to help with the developer side of things. We'll have to wait and see. So at this point in time, I think they're trying to get an idea of what this might cost and see what they can do from that point on.
well, I'm for option 1. How do you guys feel?
Oh, I'm for option 1.
Agree.
Davis?
Yes, that's a great one.
You?
Agree.
I'm ready to accept the motion.
Okay. I make a motion that we go with the recommendation of option 1.
I'll second it.
All right, there's a motion second that we go with option 1 for the main extension request. 4208 North County Road 900 West. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, any other old business?
I don't have any old business at this time.
Any new business?
I don't have any new business at this time.
Anybody like to make a public comment? Director's comment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody is aye.